Revenge by my dad on the man who tormented his sister. I lost my dad 20 days ago. The pain is still fresh. I'm not sure about the legality of what I'm about to share, but since he's no longer with us, I suppose it can't hurt anyone now. My dad was my hero in more ways than one. He was an incredible storyteller, and there are so many tales about him. But this one has always been my favorite. He was the youngest of 9 siblings, 6 brothers and 2 sisters. Being the youngest, he was both loved and pampered by everyone. We shared a short temper, something that often got both of us into trouble. In his youth, Dad was known for his fiery nature. When he was 19, his second eldest sister Letha was married to a military man who was often stationed at the border. We're Indian. That meant my Aunt Letha lived with her in-laws, as many women in India still do. The problem was her husband's older brother. We'll call him Raghav. Raghav was everything you feared in a man: a thug, a bully, a predator. He was huge, 6'8", muscular and terrifying in a fight. He had a reputation. No woman felt safe around him. After Letha married into the family, Raghav set his sights on her. He began harassing her, trying to force himself on her. Nobody in the household stood up for her. This went on for weeks, breaking her spirit bit by bit. Eventually, she found the courage to confide in one of her older nephews, who was just 18 at the time. Heartbroken and furious, he ran to my dad and told him everything: how Letha was being emotionally crushed, how her safety and dignity were hanging by a thread. My dad was livid, but he knew he couldn't take on Raghav alone, so he rallied a group of his friends, his older nephews. Together they decided to act. There wasn't much of a plan. The idea was simple: beat the crap out of Raghav and send a message. But they knew it couldn't happen while he was sober. So they waited for evening, when Raghav was usually drunk. My dad and his friends had a few drinks themselves for liquid courage and then waited in the dark corners of their village. Well, electricity was still unreliable when Raghav walked by. They pounced. 6 young, half-drunk men against a beast of a man. Even intoxicated, Raghav could still fight. Worse, he had some of his cronies nearby that my dad didn't know about. It turned into a chaotic all-out brawl. In the heat of it all, my dad grabbed a piece of wood lying on the road and swung it with everything he had, hitting Raghav square on the head. Moments later, they all ran. Someone had called for backup and they were too drunk to think clearly. Dad somehow made it home, cleaned up, and went to bed. The next morning, he told his mother about the fight. While he was explaining what happened, one of his brothers walked in and told him the police were looking for him. Grandma told him to lay low. Raghav had made it to the hospital and managed to give a statement. Dad went into hiding for a short while. Eventually, though, he turned himself in, not because of guilt, but because, as he put it, "I was tired of eating crappy food." He literally surrendered to the cops and asked for a decent meal. The case was dismissed. Raghav survived the initial injury, but not for long. The damage from that night haunted him to his grave within a few months. This story was one of Dad's favorites to tell. He never once expressed regret. In his words, not a single woman was harmed or abused in our village after that night. I miss my dad. I'm sure he had more stories like this, but now I'll never get to hear them.